like you guys to remember that I'm not just here to preach to like a crowd of people who already believe in Islam. I'm here to give you guys a reminder to make doubt. Also, so to start off with, I'll tell you guys like how it was before I reverted to Islam. So I kind of had heard about Islam through 9/11, just like that whole issue, just the lies through the media about Islam being all about terrorism, not being a religion of peace. Learning about it through world history, a more neutral perspective of what it truly is. Also, I learned about it through like the three winners, the martyrs, and the issue there. Hearing about their story, about how horrible it was that these 3 Muslims were killed for no reason at all that was legitimate. And just the food drive that we held here at school. But before my reversion, I was just kind of a low down person going through some tough times, but I was very active within the Christian community. I had gone to church every Sunday. I was so active that I actually become a leader within the church, a part of like the youth council, and working in that sense, going to different retreats to actually get more kids to be strong in their Christian faith. But as I said before, I was kind of low down. I was going through some tough times. I was even considering being metrosexual at one point. Like, I actually had dated a boy at one time, going between not knowing who to love, what to believe in, and I was also considering being transgender at that point, going on a chat sites, pretending to be a woman, and I was just doing disgusting things that, even though I was being a hollow person, whether Christian or Muslim, whatever I was being a hollow person and low down. Then I just, in that whole trying to pretend to be a woman on the websites, I actually met a Muslim guy on there, and I was chatting with him, and he was just telling me about Islam or whatever, and I just thought it would be cool to pretend to be Muslim or whatever, and so I thought it'd be cool to actually try wudu. And I remember just going in his school here in the restroom over near the library. I just went in there and tried doing wudu with actually taking my feet up and putting them into the sink to try to do that. So that was pretty much a big fail right there. But continuing on, and I ask you guys to please respect this. But I was talking to Ali. Me and Ali had been friends before, just kind of casual conversation about how we like this video game or whatever. But then we were just talking about what Christianity is and what Islam was, and I was telling him my perspective of what Christianity was to me and what I believe, and then he was telling me what he believed with Islam and the truth there. And I really did respect the whole idea of Islam and doing the Salah 5 daily prayers, being so committed to that. And I remember Ali specifically saying that he did not waver in his faith. There was no doubt and that this was the truth. And I really respected that. And I remember at the end when he was like, "Have you thought about Islam?" I was like, "Nah, that doesn't seem like the right thing to me. I'm pretty sure I'm going to stick with Christianity." And he said, "But remember, you only have so much time in life. There's a set amount of years, days, months that you have on this earth, so that you got to make a decision. You got to be firm with it. You only have so much time." And then after that, I remember just kind of learning more about Islam, asking him questions, going online to learn more about it. Ali gave me a book on the jinn because I had asked him about that, how they could not necessarily be a devil, but they could also be Muslim. I remember there was a point where I was just stroking a dog, my own dog that I had owned, and I was just saying Allahu Akbar just in a calm voice, just stroking him over and over, and just feeling the beauty of saying that over and over, and just hearing it roll off my tongue. And I remember on another occasion, as you guys may have heard before, I was with Ali and we did a Quran opening experiment where I would open the Quran to any verse or at all, just any random verse that I might happen to pick up, just really think hard and see how it would apply to a question I might have had in my mind. And there was the beauty in when I asked the question of why am I here, when I opened the Quran and pulled up to Ad-Dariyat, to the verse that says, "And I created men and jinn, only that they should worship me." And that was the true meaning of my life. There was nothing else I could ask, because all the other questions I might have had just led up to what my purpose was in life, which is to worship Allah. So that was a truly striking moment in my life. I continued to ask questions, get to understand what it was, and it just Islam came into my heart and just really shaped me as a person. I also remember in the library one day, Brother Ahmed just coming up to me with Ali and just handing me the copy of the Quran. It just felt like it was out of nowhere, but it felt like it was meant to be. I remember Ali saying, "This dude, he really wants to become Muslim." And I didn't think about that I felt agreed at the same time. At that time, I didn't feel like I agreed with what Ali said, but that slowly, that began to change. And what he was saying, that it was a good religion, came to be me saying that it was a good religion. I remember also Ali asked me if I wanted to visit the masjid. I decided to go on one Saturday, shaking hands with some of the fellow brothers there, acting like a goofball, being the only white guy there, and then sitting, listening to Salah in a chair, not actually participating, but just sitting and watching, seeing what goes on, just having utmost respect at Ali for standing in front of all the other people, just seeing him. That's someone I know. That's someone who's devoted right there, and understanding what really goes on. Not just on a singular level of prayer, but in a community, within the congregational prayer. Then I just continued to ask more questions, trying to understand what Islam was truly. That was the whole part of it. I remember there was one point where Ali asked me if I had more questions, and I was being stubborn, and I said, "No, I don't have any more questions. I don't need to ask more questions." But how wrong was I? There was always more questions that need to be asked, and even now I'm continually asking questions. And I challenge you guys to not stop believing because you can't get those question answers. Keep asking, and don't go with blind faith. Go with true faith and true knowledge that is backed up by answers to those questions, because there are answers out there. You just have to look. Also, at that point, I started visiting MSA and going to the Juma, just kind of watching again, just seeing like what was going on there. And then actually, there was at the end of the year, junior year, like around May or so, I actually like tried out Juma, thinking that you didn't have to be like necessarily reverted or be Muslim to try it out. So, although everybody had already thought that I had taken the testimony of faith, so they just kind of were like, okay, you're just doing that. But so I had done it, and then I remember Ahmed asking me at the end, like, "Oh, did you take the testimony of faith?" And I was like, "Oh no, I didn't. I just wanted to try out." But he said, "No, you can't just try things out. You have to be committed. It's not something where you can just say you're trying out Islam. You gotta be Muslim or you're not." So I remember that was just something that really struck me. It's not something that you can waver in, not something you can be on the fence about. You have to make a decision. And at the end of that, actually, at that same Juma, I remember he asked me, "Well, do you want to actually make the testimony of faith?" And I said yes, and I was firm in that. I knew that's what I wanted to do. It was a challenge, I knew for certain, in making this transition from Christianity to Islam, but it was something that I truly wanted to do. So then I did make the testimony of faith. I remember right before I was about to, though, I remember Omar was saying, "Are you sure you really want to do this? This is a life-changing event." And I did appreciate that, but still, my commitment was firm, and I made that testimony of faith. Then after that, that was the end of the year, so we went into summer from school, and I going through Ramadan, trying to fast during the summer. And I remember I had worked with the Method Road, which is actually pretty near the mosque, the park there, and I actually was sneaking out because my dad didn't necessarily approve of me being Muslim, so I would sneak out to go to the masjid by getting early to work, so he would know. I remember while I went there, I just tried praying, and then another guy, I don't know his name, but he was Arabic, and he actually gave me a book on how to pray after I utterly failed at trying to pray before that. So then I realized that sometimes you may just try to do something, but you need to ask for help on how to do things. In the actions of Islam, you gotta realize that there's certain ways to do these actions, not just learning things, but learning how to do things. So that was a big moment for me as well. I actually had so much struggle though with fasting that I did end up throwing up towards the end of summer, but it was a good challenge, and I did enjoy the feeling of being more willing to give to others than I would having not fasted. The challenges continue though after reverting though, with friends asking if I was going to join ISIS, or yelling Allahu Akbar at me in like a really loud voice as if it was a battle cry for terrorism. I just remember also my father just angry at my choice, just feeling that I hadn't made the right choice, that I was too young to make this choice, that it was just too harsh, just too quick, and that I should have waited later. But no, I felt that I had making the right decision, that it says to make haste to the straight path. I also remember getting weird looks of disgust from my dad when I was doing Salah. And it was really weird for me because I was still socially active within my church. And my dad would not let me go to the masjid, which is still current today. My dad's not letting me go, but I tried, as I said, in the summer to still go even without him knowing. But now, as you guys may have known, I've been more active in MSA and going to Juma. I've received a Hadith book during the Eid as a gift from Ali, so I've gained more knowledge in Islamic literature. I've actually been active in MSA to a point where I was elected on the Shura, being the secretary of MSA, and I'm just continuing in my mind, building it up, and continuing to remind people to make dawah. Alhamdulillah, thank you guys for your time. Oh, questions? Anybody have any questions, concerns? Yes.
So this isn't really a question, but I'm just saying, I'm sorry I went that harsh. I didn't realize that
No,
it was
it's okay.
that harsh when I told you that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It challenged me.
One thing actually, like a few weeks ago, there was a guy who was talking to me at door prayer. After door prayer, some guy came up to me. He was like, "You have a friend that came to the mosque and he was praying wrong, but I took him to my house and
Yeah, that was it.
yeah." So yeah, that's cool.
Awesome. Yes.
Why do you think your dad was so like harsh?
I think he was so harsh because he felt like I wasn't realizing that faith is not just like something you believe in, but a whole social life that's involved. Like he felt like I was abandoning all the things that he had taught me. So I feel like he thought I wasn't appreciating all the work that he had put into to make me a part of a Christian family in that sense. So I think he was angry at me for that. Yes. Oh, my mom is actually deceased. It's okay. Yeah. Any other questions, concerns? Yes.
How you felt like your character has changed?
I felt like, as far as my character changing, I feel like I've grown more restraint in what I do, like still being myself, being the diverse person that I am, not destroying my own personality, but having more restraint, more higher modesty in what I do, realizing that there is a limit to actions and that you just can't be wild all the time. You gotta have control. Yes.
What's the hardest thing for you?
The hardest thing for me is just kind of like just feeling awkward, like out of place sometimes. Just like because I'm the white guy, like out of all the Muslims or whatever, just feeling out of place, not like a part of it, even though I still am. I just forget that, and I just feel so distant as a revert sometimes versus all the people who are just with our whole family being Muslim. So just that distance aspect sometimes has been really hard for me. Yes.
What do you think we can do as a Muslim community to make Newlands more peace?
What I think we can do is just not like, even just like when making dawah, not doing it just like necessarily directly telling people like about Islam, but doing it through our actions. Making people feel like that Muslim people are not just active just in their faith, but in the community outside of their own faith, and that they can implement the moral values that we truly upstand in our community interactions. So I feel like if we move from just being like, feeling like there's only one way we can exhibit our faith, just branching out and doing it in multiple ways is the truly way to succeed in that. Any other questions, concerns? Yes.
You ever like on your way, you just kind of have your doubts?
Well, honestly, it's funny you asked that, because actually, even though when at the end of at my time being Christian or whatever, I still had doubts, even though I thought I was at my point of most faith or whatever. But actually, like with this, I didn't really have any doubts of what the actual faith was. I just had depression over what people thought of it. Like, I wasn't looking at the opinions of people on the actual faith that I was going to believe in. It was the opinions that were not necessarily true of the social aspect of being Muslim. Yes.
Have you ever tried like talking to your friends about it, like asking them?
Asking them just like about like what it is like to be Muslim, or
No, like have you ever like tried to like talk about them?
oh, have I made dawah myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a little bit. I actually, one of my friends in cross country, he was curious about it, and I actually gave him, because what was funny was the guy who I told you guys about, who gave me the How to Pray book, he also gave me another Quran, even though I already got one from Ahmed and Ali. So I actually gave him that copy of the Quran to read. He did give it back to me, but since he was interested, he gained a little bit more understanding of Islam. So I made a little bit of dawah in that sense. It wasn't successful, but I did make it all the same. Oh yes, I made it.
How did you basically like go through Ramadan in your house? Like, did your dad ever offer you, food while you were fasting?
Well, my dad, that's a good question actually, because he did challenge me, not really understanding why I was doing it. Like, he did offer me food, like thinking that it was just unreasonable to like not eat food during the day, especially since I was working on a job and I was outdoors and in the heat every day. He didn't really understand why that was something I would want to do. He thought it was unhealthy, so he constantly offered me food. And when I did get sick, he was really happy actually that I got sick, and that I would finally like just eat normally like the rest of everybody that he knew. But I did try to fast. I did tell him that that was something I wanted to do, even though he didn't necessarily think it was the right thing to do. I just tried not to eat and stuff my face at night.